5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Stile. Thank you, Congressman Morelli, who's kind of my neighbor. I surround him with my new district. And happy to say that I went from winning by 109 votes to nearly 90,000 after what happened in 2020. So a big difference in our awareness on getting up to speed. And because of that, I founded the Election Integrity Caucus in the House, along with Mike Garcia, who also had a very narrow win. I just want to name a couple things. Confidence in our elections is very low. In the weeks leading up to the 2020 midterm election, Pew Research polling found only 22% of voters believed the midterms would be administered very well, with only 11% of Republicans and 35% of Democrats. Only 26% of voters are very confident that their vote will be counted when voting with absentee ballots or early voting. This is not a good look. This is definitely not just a Republican or Democrat issue. If you go down to New York City, one of my New York City colleagues said, you've got to do something about election integrity in New York City because the Democratic primaries aren't fair. And I'll leave the name out of that person for now. But I wanted to first, I don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to jump to Mr. Von Spakowski. You've done a lot of work with us. Thank you for all of you. I think almost all of you have appeared at our election integrity forums. And I just want to, you just mentioned something that's really important. Isn't it a lot easier to look at a ballot, to determine the validity of a provisional ballot than to try to take back a ballot that was improperly placed, especially if you put it into a voting machine?
Well, that's exactly right. If someone votes who, for example, it turns out later, doesn't actually live where they're registered to vote, they're from another state and they falsely registered, you can't take that ballot out of the ballot box. And for folks who think that doesn't happen, a judge overturned an election in Compton, California just last year based on the fact that half a dozen individuals falsely registered to vote in Compton, voted in that election, and they overturned a city council election. The election they falsely voted in was decided by one vote.
I agree. I mean, that was our experience. I mean, once you put that ballot in the machine, rightly or wrongly, there's no taking it back. And that's why the provisional ballot, I'd rather see us clean up and do list maintenance and clean up our ballot rolls. I mean, I continue to get an election notification request for my son who hasn't lived in my house for many years and is registered somewhere else and has been registered for 7 years. But I continue to get from New York State, which is one of the worst, I know, a ballot, a registration. No, you will be voting on this day in this location. And I know that there's a lot of controversy over, say, ERIC and some of these other types of systems, but isn't there something we can do maybe to improve ERIC or to come up with another system to make sure that we don't have duplication of voters when, voting in different states? And I would propose that to you, maybe Mr. Von Spakowski, and maybe Mr. Cuccinelli.
One of the biggest problems states have, look, the states can do a lot on their own. The one problem they have is finding individuals who are registered in other states. One of the things that states should start doing, which they haven't done before, Tennessee, I believe, is actually one of the first states to pass a law allowing this, is in addition to government databases, states should start accessing and using commercial databases like credit agencies. Why? Well, it probably doesn't surprise you that credit bureaus have a lot more up-to-date information than government databases because they're in business to make a profit and they try to keep their information accurate. And there's a lot of information.
Wouldn't you say, excuse, just to reclaim my time, wouldn't you say there's a liability issue there? Where they're going to be removed from being able to do that, or they're not going to get the bid on the job the next time? Well, I mean, at least there's some certification or some type of control in place. When it's government, it's never going to end. There's never going to be accountability, really.
No, that's right. So
and I don't mean to blame. Yeah, I mean, the boards of elections are, in my case, we went almost 10 times the number of absentee ballots because of the pandemic, 100 rules changes by Governor Cuomo at the time, no new resources. It was a complete unfair situation for our boards of elections. Yes, they made mistakes, but they also didn't have the resources. I liken it to the southern border. We don't have enough people to deal with the crisis there, and we blame the border agents, but they're doing the best job they can. It's just like many of these people that serve on the boards of elections. They're trying to make this work. They can't even coordinate or couldn't coordinate under the HR 1 that Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats put through last cycle, they wouldn't even be able to coordinate with other states. So I think that you're right. I appreciate it. Sorry I didn't get to the rest of you, but I know time is late and votes have been called. But thank you so much for what you do for preserving and protecting election integrity, all of you on the panel. Thanks for being here.